morning, everybody, and thanks Sally and others for the opportunity to come and present the challenge this morning. So I'm Lorna from National Health Services Scotland, part of the NHS in Scotland, and I work in Information Services Division. So we have analysts, statisticians, data managers, a whole range of people who help to make good use of the data that we have around the health service and increasingly social care. Got a couple of colleagues here from NSS, Peter and Tam, today, hands up, who I think will be here for the next couple of days and can answer some questions. So why am I here? I was thinking that's a bit of a philosophical question for a Saturday morning, but so partly to present the challenge and also to offer ISD support. We are sometimes seen as a little bit of an ivory tower. You know, we sit and work with the Scottish Government around big policy issues, but we're increasingly needing to have both the data that we've got access to, but also the skills and the knowledge and the talent that we have within information services to use for health and well-being. So it's a kind of offer to speak to us and see how we can support you. And I've never actually been to, I was one like, yeah, no, I've never been to HAC before, I have no idea what this is all about. And it's part of this shift that we need to make. ISD needs to move with the times. We are a lot bureaucratic. We're quite institutionalised. You know, we work in the health service, and we need to break through all of that. We're living in a world of big data, disruption, use of information and intelligence, and we need to really be part of that and bring our skills and knowledge and talent into that. So I think I was looking for an image that was about Mission Impossible, so it does feel like really quite a big challenge, this. So like Sally was saying, it's if we could just break it down into, you know, something that's doable. But we know the problems. We know the problems about obesity. We know the problems about alcohol, you know, Scotland's relationship with alcohol, smoking and heart disease. We've got a lot of information, a lot of evidence, a lot of statistics to back all of this up. I think it's good that we're now beginning to add mental health and well-being into that picture, that we're beginning to see that's part of the challenge as well. I did a little scout around ISD's website just to get some of these statistics here. Our digital presence is being really transformed at the moment. When I look at our website, it's really quite clunky, difficult to access. We know that, we've had feedback on that. So we're looking to see how we can transform it. So if there's any genius ideas in the room around that, would be brilliant. And the bit that also struck me was, if you look at the date stamp on these data that are here, so we know what obesity was like in kids in 13-14. You know, there's a huge time lag sometimes with the data that we get access to, partly because of the systems and the processes that we have in place. So it's another challenge. How do we get access to data that's much more real-time, that's much more accessible? Some of that, for epidemiology reasons, is okay. You know, obesity doesn't change in days and weeks and months, but sometimes we do need access to that more up-to-date data. So in some ways, as a population, as individuals, we know what we need to do we? So you see the packaging on food, people have got Fitbits and all these new technologies around heart rate and how well did you sleep last night. Minimum, the units on alcohol, and more people are seeing things like mindfulness, meditation, you know, getting into that kind of health and mental health and well-being. So there's a lot of resource there, a lot of information. It was Peter that gave me these links that are in the slides there for a lot of apps, websites, huge amount of resource about the challenge and what we might do about it. So what's stopping us? We're in a bit of a dilemma or a dichotomy within ISD. It seems that people are happy to share data. You see stuff on, I know more about what happens in my nephew's lives through Facebook than I do from actually talking to them. So people are happy to share all of this information. Some information, you know, how much are we happy to share? But we work with very sensitive personal data about what happens in people's lives in hospitals and GP practices and so on. And rightly, health and care professionals are concerned about sharing that data. So we have to be able to have the right level of security, data protection acts, freedom of information acts, balanced with that data needs to be shared, that data needs to be used to help improve people's lives. There's a sense that there's a bit of a reluctance, this nanny state thing. So we could ban cigarettes, we could put minimum pricing on alcohol. There's a big debate on just now. But there's something, again, that holds us back. That's a bit nanny state. People shouldn't have choices. So a bit of a dichotomy there. And I think the real bit, and I think this is the challenge that we're looking for that sweet spot here. What is it that would trigger people to change the habits? We know all of this stuff, but what is it that's going to trigger for me to make that decision to make a change? So the opportunities are around really getting people engaged in this. One of the issues that are around is that there's a sense that some of these Fitbits and new technology and so on is actually getting at people who are already pretty engaged with their health. So how do we get at people who are maybe not so engaged, maybe not so empowered to take charge of their own health? How do we make more use? I've made a big play about making more use of the data and the information and the talents that are around in information specialists. And then how do we get the right circumstances to get people together to actually engage in this and make something happen? And this is the kind of opportunity I think is amazing over the next couple of days. Just a bit of a plug for ISD, so you can see how data can show big differences. So this is the impact of a virus, of a vaccine, rotavirus vaccine. So you can see how it's peaking over a number of months and years. Introduce the vaccine and suddenly there is a much less incidence of it. When I showed Sally the slides, I sent Sally the slide pack and she gave me one or two comments and she said, slide 10 looks a bit complicated. And I said, yeah, I know. But what we're doing increasingly is pulling together data to show something about the whole system. So we're used to saying, well, this is what's happening in waiting times, this is what's happening in delayed discharges. You've seen the headlines, £900 million in terms of delayed discharges in England. So we tend to just divide that by 10. So we've got £90 million worth of waste in the health service because people are not able to get out with care packages or get out into care homes. So we bring that data together, but the more complicated data and whole system data that you bring together, the more difficult it is to get your head around what are the patterns in that, and then how do we make sense of that. So these slides are available, and there's loads more that are available that we could sit and work through. But one of our challenges just now is how do we make sense of it, and how do we present it in such a way that people can actually make sense of what's going on there. So I'm here for the next couple of days. I'm really happy to ask questions, and I'm looking forward to playing with the Play-Doh later on. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.